Hi, and welcome to Until 9 Million. This is episode 12, and we are 521 weeks until 9 million. Hi, and welcome back to Until 9 Million. So this week I want to talk about debt. And I don't mean death in being dead and buried, but I mean about debt in owing people money. Now, the reason I want to talk about it is because that is really important when you talk about money management. So usually I talk about how you could be making money. That is, a part of it, or can be a part of it. So this week I'm gonna give you 4 important things that you should know about debt. Okay, number 1, debt always costs you money. So if you borrow money from a bank, let's say $10,000, you always have to pay them back more than that you borrowed. So maybe you have to pay them back $10,500. So there's no such thing as free borrowing. Usually the company or the bank that lends you any money wants something in return for lending you that amount of money. And there's a part to it which is called interest rates. And if you have really low interest rates, then you can borrow money cheaply. And if you have really high interest rates, then your debt is going to be really expensive. Now, an example of usually cheap debt is, for example, a mortgage. It's long term, it's low interest, and usually you don't pay that much interest per year. But obviously, because it's a mortgage and you pay it back over 20 years, the amount stacks up. But it's acceptable. Then you have really high interest rates. An example is a credit card. Usually they charge you 1 or 2% a month, not a year, a month. And that is really expensive debt. So that's usually not that good. Which brings me straight to point 2. There's good debt and there's bad debt. The mortgage, for example, is a form of, I would say, good debt. The reason why it's good is because you're borrowing money from the bank and you buy something that probably won't lose its value. So if you're buying a house, usually it retains its value if you keep it in good order. You build up capital while you're paying off your mortgage, and the interest rates are usually quite low. And although it's long term, your house probably will keep its value. And if you're a bit lucky, then it might go up. If you don't keep it in good order, then the value might go down. But anyway, usually you build up capital. So that's good. Another form of good debt is, for example, if you invest into a company. Let's say you want to start a company and you need equipment or raw materials to get you started. Then you could walk to a bank and ask them to borrow you some money so you can get started. That's usually also a good form of debt because you invested in something that can make you money. So the return should be higher than the interest rates you have to pay. So that were 2 examples of good debt, and that brings us to bad debt. A credit card, for example, is usually bad debt. And I don't mean, borrowing for a credit card for when you pay it back within the months, because that usually don't cost you any money. But I mean like borrowing a lot of money on your credit card and then not prepaying it back. And, you have to pay probably maybe 1% a month. And that is quite a bit of money. So that's usually not a very good debt to have. Now, I remember former colleagues who had really bad debt in credit cards. They had like 2 maxed out credit cards, and every month they were repaying like $200 to $300 on interest payments, and that's really $200 to $300 lost in your income, because that's something you don't get anything in return for. And they didn't really realize it. They just kept maxing it out, and when they want to go to do something fun or buy some new game or buy a new iPod or iPad or whatever, they spend their money and they kept their credit cards maxed out. and they didn't realize that it cost them a ton of money, and they lost like thousands of dollars each year on interest payments. So that's really, really bad debt because it's lost money. That brings us to point number 3. Let's say you're in bad debt. Then you should get rid of it as soon as you can. And usually it's hard, but let's say you got a credit card maxed out, $5,000 you owe to the bank or to the credit card company. And let's say you have to pay them back like $200 of interest each month. I'm just putting a number out there, but let's say $200 each month of interest payments. Then if you can pay them back like $250 each month, then in the beginning you will be paying a lot of interest and decreasing the amount of money that you owe them by a small amount. But if you keep on doing that, if you decrease the amount of money that you owe them, then the interests are going to drop, and then the amount of money that you repay is going to get bigger. So the first month you repay $50 on capital and $200 on interest rates, but the next month you might be repaying $52 on capital and $198 on interest rates. So usually the amount of money you pay back is gonna, lower quicker and quicker. It will go faster and faster. And that's what they call snowballing your debt. Because in the beginning the snowball is small, but it will pick up more and more snow, and by the end of it the snowball is really, really big, and you're not paying any interest rates anymore, but you're repaying the capital in full. Now, just a quick tip: if you're doing that and you reach the end of repaying your credit cards, then keep on going. I would say, instead of repaying or paying $250 to your credit card company, you could put that $250 into a savings account. You're used to paying it, anyway. If you put it in the saving accounts, it will start making you money. It's the other way around. So that's really a good thing to do. And you're used to it anyway. So, but let's say that you got a lot of bad debt and you're in trouble. And that brings me to point number 4. If you get yourself into a bad position where you have a lot of debt and you cannot repay it, then don't run away from that problem. If you run away, it never gets solved, and it usually will get worse. So the thing you should be doing is go to the bank or go to the company that you owe money to and negotiate. Talk to them. It usually is much better. So banks usually want their money back, or credit companies, the same thing, they want their money back. If you go broke, they don't get any money at all. Although they want to keep you into debt, they're not interested in you going completely broke, because when you default on everything, you go completely broke and they cannot get money off of you anymore. So if you're in a bad position, go to them, talk to them, negotiate, and try to get rid of that bad debt. And maybe you get a better deal out of it, or they freeze rates, or the interest payments get frozen as well. There's a way how they can help you out with dealing with your bad debt. Okay, that's it for the 4 important things you should know about debt. But I'm gonna give you a fifth bonus point, which is don't owe money to the state. So don't have any debt with the state. The state is the worst. Company. It's not a company because it's a state, but it's the worst organization to owe money to. Why? Because the state always gets their money back, and they will do it through repossession. They will send lawyers around, and they will repossess everything, and you will lose everything. So always pay your taxes. Don't avoid taxes. Don't do it. Try to avoid that kind of debt. And again, there as well, try to negotiate when you're in really a bad position. But the state is usually really difficult to negotiate with, so stay away from that. Okay, that's the 5th bonus point. Don't be in debt with the state. That's bad. All right, that's it for my important things you should know about debt. I'll do a really quick recap. So 1. Debt always costs money. Keep that in mind. 2. There's a good debt and there's bad debt. Stay away from the bad debt. Good debt, you can do some nice things with it. 3. If you get into bad debt, snowball your debt away. 4. Let's say you're in a really bad position and you cannot repay them. Go to the organizations or go to the banks and talk to them. Negotiate a better repayment plan. It will help you out. Don't run away from your problems. If you want to know when I make a new episode, make sure to subscribe to this channel or follow me on Twitter until 9 million. Okay, that's it for this week. I'll hope I see you around. Bye.